makers, Lisa here from Andrie Designs. I've just been working on a classic clutch and I thought I'd pop a quick little tutorial together to show you how I like to install D-rings. So there's a few little tips on getting the ring really nicely secured and stitched in the connector fabric. It's very straightforward to do, and when you've had a few practices at it, you'll think this is really easy. Why did I not know these tips before? This is something that you can apply to many other bags. Pretty much any bag that has a ring of some sort as part of it, you can apply these tips and tricks to that bag. So I'm just going to step you through when I've created these wrist strap connectors for the classic clutch. I'll pop a link to the classic clutch in the description below. Let's get started. So to create the wrist strap connectors for your classic clutch, I'm actually going to do it slightly different to the pattern directions, and instead of folding it in half and then folding the sides in to that center fold, all I'm going to do is draw a line down on the wrong side of the fabric and then fold my long sides into that line, and that will actually prevent having a crease down the center of the fabric. So if you'd like to do it that way, go ahead and do that now. So I'm just going to measure halfway in on my fabric. So for me, making the maxi size, that is 1 1/4 inches. I'm just going to draw a line. And then from here, I'm going to fold the long sides into that line, and I'm going to give it a good press down each side. So here we have our folded wrist strap connector, the same size as it would be if we'd followed the directions in the pattern. However, it just doesn't have that crease down the center. So it's a little bit tidier. So once we've folded that, we're just going to reopen our connector. We're going to take a corresponding piece of interfacing and we're going to place it down the center of that connector in that channel we've just created. I'm going to refold the strap up to make sure everything's sitting nice and flat, and once you're happy with the placement of your interfacing, give it a really good press to fuse it in place. So from here, pause the video, head over to your machine, and you're going to top stitch down each long folded edge using a 1/8 inch seam allowance and a top stitch length of about 3 to 3.5 millimeters. And once you've done that, pop back here and we will continue. So once you've stitched down both long sides of your first connector, it should be looking something like this. So from here, all we're going to do is place it right side down on our work surface or a pressing table. We're going to fold one short end over 1 inch, and it's really important that we measure that to make sure it is only 1 inch, and that's for both sizes. And once you have your 1 inch, just give it a good press to set that fold. From here, we can slot one of our D-rings into that fold, so making sure the fold of the fabric is sitting nicely over that bottom bar of the D-ring. And to hold that flap down, I just like to use a little bit of sewing glue. However, you could use tape or pins if you prefer, just to hold it down prior to stitching. So make sure the fold is sitting right in that D-ring or at the bar of the D-ring, and the side folds of your connector are nicely aligned, so everything's nice and square. And if you're using glue like me, just give it a little press to set the glue, and that is ready to stitch. So once your connector is looking like mine, pause the video, head over to your machine, and I'll show you how to stitch your D-ring in place nice and securely. So at your machine, you need to make sure that your zipper foot is installed on your machine. You have your needle all the way to one side. I prefer to stitch my hardware in with the hardware and the needle on the right. You need to make sure you have a top stitching length set of about 3 to 3.5 millimeters, and also make sure your needle is set to the needle down position so that when you stop, your work is held in place. So popping your connector under that foot, we're going to put the foot hard up under the bottom bar of that D-ring. So just lowering it down in the center of the connector and almost kind of pulling slightly the fabric out and away from that connector so that your zipper foot is hard up against the bottom of the bar. All we're going to do is just make one stitch forwards and backwards to lock our threads in, and then we're going to simply stitch right hard up under the bar all the way to this front folded edge first, just nice and steadily, Once we get there, we're going to lock reverse in. We're going to reverse all the way back across to the far folded edge of the connector. And once we get there, we can take reverse off. We're going to stitch back to the center and just make 2 to 3 stitches to reinforce your threads, and then you can take your work out. And that is installing a D-ring into a connector. And that's all there is to it. It is that easy to install the D-rings. As I said before, once you've had a few practices at it, you'll find it becomes a lot easier, and you'll have really nice secure rings that don't turn through their little casing, and they stay put, they look great, and it looks very professional. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've learnt a few little tips and tricks as well. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to contact us via the contact page of our website. And alternatively, you're welcome to post in our patterns group on Facebook as well. And I'll pop links to both of those in the description below. Until next time, happy sewing!